Rev up your engines!
Well, here's a list of the 10 deadliest cars in the United States. The one that more people die percentage-wise than any other one. Some of them might surprise you, some of them might not. Numero uno is the Mitsubishi Mirage. It has a death rate of 205. Now, that's per million registered vehicles, so that's a lot of vehicles, right? So I guess if it's 500,000, you know, they just correlate it to million registered vehicles, so they make sure it's not just some one-off where there's a few of them. There's a lot of them out there, right? And number two is the Mitsubishi Mirage hatchback. So, not so safe to be in a Mitsubishi Mirage. Three is the Dodge Challenger. No surprise. They have so much horsepower, people drive like maniacs. That doesn't shock me at all. Hyundai Accent is number four. Well, I'm not a fan of the Korean cars. Chevy Spark is number five. No surprise. It's a tiny vehicle. And they can talk all they want about, we've got crumple zones, we've got this, we've got that. But let's face the fact. You're in a tiny car, you get hit by a big truck, it's curtains. Number six is the Kia Rio. Well, no surprise again. Not a fan of Korean cars. Number seven is a Dodge Charger. Again, no surprise. I'm surprised it's not higher up. People drive like maniacs in those things. Number eight, the Chevy Camaro convertible. Again, we have a car that people drive fast and a convertible, so if it flips over, crunch. Number nine is a Nissan Altima. Nissan products, not the greatest, right? And rounding up the top 10 is the Kia Forte, another Korean car. Stay safe, stay away from Mitsubishi, stay away from Kias, and don't buy a fast muscle car like a Camaro or a Challenger or a Charger. Some things make sense. You know, some things are just common sense. And of course, like I said, the tiny car like a Chevy Spark, it's so small you get hit. It's curtains. Tom Dunnick says, Scotty, would a 2015 Mazda 5 be a reliable vehicle? 95,000 miles. Dealer wants $9,800. Okay, they're decent cars. 95,000 miles, normal miles. But you never know how it was maintained. You got to find a guy like me, a good mechanic, to check it out with his fancy scan tools. I've had people bring me those, and I say, that's fine. I've also had people bring me the Mazda 5s, and they seem okay, but I looked at my scan tool, and there were hidden transmission codes showing that the transmission was on its way out, which is typical on those in some cases, especially if the previous owner drove them hard and didn't maintain them. Then I tell them, don't buy that Mazda 5. You got to have a mechanic look at that car. Delvander said, Scotty, hey from Canada. What's your opinion on a 2023 Mazda CX-5 2.5 inline-4 Honda CR-V 1.5 GDI turbo? Which one should I buy? I would actually get the Mazda out of that because I do not like a combination of turbo and GDI. The engines will run out faster. Now, Honda makes good engines. There's no arguing that. And with the turbo, that 1.5 is quick, right? But you get a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine in a Mazda, a bigger engine, non-turbo. It's going to outlast. I would definitely go for the Mazda in that case. Mike Davidson said, Scotty, what's your opinion on Chevy Tracker / Viteras? Okay, they're okay, but they're not great. If you want a little vehicle, kind of fun to bounce around in, and you can get one cheap enough, checks out okay with the mechanic, it could be an okay buy, right? But on the other hand, if you're thinking about buying one, I had a customer who had a Vitara. He said, oh, I love this. Then he moved from Houston to Florida. He drove it to Florida and he sold it. He said, this is horrible on the highway. I can't take long trips in this thing. It's so uncomfortable. It bounces around. So keep that in mind. Check it out first. Drive it. See if you can handle the poor ride that it has. Isaac Gray says, Scotty, is it bad to run a car without the catalytic converter and make the car run better? Is it bad for the engine in the long run? Okay. Now, realize in the United States, it is illegal to remove a catalytic converter. So you are breaking federal law. Now, you know, it's your own business, right? But the car probably run better. The catalytic converter only does one thing. It's an anti-pollution device that burns unburned hydrocarbons that get in the exhaust because they didn't burn completely inside the engine, right? They actually run better without, but it's against the law. You're breaking the law doing it. I mean, I know a lot of guys here in Tennessee do it all the time because they do not do vehicle inspections of any type. So people drive whatever they want, right? It's only an anti-pollution device. That's the only thing that it does. Now, if you did take it off, lights will come on because the computer will know it's missing and check engine lights and all that BS. But the car will actually run better. I mean, it's just an anti-pollution device. That's the only purpose that it has. Next question. Juan D says, Scotty, what do you think of a 2013 Volkswagen Passat with 61,000 miles for $14,000? I wouldn't care if it was $14. I wouldn't buy it. I hate Volkswagens. They make junk, absolute piles of crap. 61,000 miles isn't much, but everything on those cursed Volkswagens is plastic. And it's now an 11-year-old car. When that plastic stuff breaks, you might think, oh, it's just plastic. Yeah. Then find out how much money the plastic parts on the engine cost, because they have plastic parts, how much it costs to replace them, because you got to take half the car apart. No, I would never buy that car. Let me tell you, I've been a mechanic for 55 years. And in the last 35 years, I didn't have one single customer who ever bought a Volkswagen and then bought another one. They all said, that car was a pile of crap. I'm never buying another Volkswagen. And they didn't. Richard Sell said, help, I got a 2012 RAV4. It slips in reverse. Can't back up a hill. 177,000 miles. Well, don't back up hills. Drive up them. Don't back up, right? Yeah, your tranny's just flat wearing out inside. The RAV4s, the 2012s, they had a little bit weaker tranny. And you'd have to rebuild it because the reverse gear is going out and it's slipping. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, right? But who the heck needs to back up a hill, you know? As long as you can back up in a little place and drive, always try to park where you don't have to back up. I had a guy, not with a Toyota, it was a GM product, and he had a car reverse, didn't work at all. He drove it years that way. He'd always park so he didn't have to back up to get out, right? Like if he's in somewhere and he would want to back into a parking space, he'd have his friends push it in. And then when he got out, if someone was in the way, he'd have friends push it and get it out of the way. And he drove it years that way. And yours is only slipping, so take my advice. Don't back up hills. Park where you don't have to back up as often as possible, and you never know. It still might last a while. Tom Wanamaker. I got 93 S300 Lexus. Hydraulic fan won't come with the AC on. What component usually fails? All right? What usually fails is a viscous hydraulic fan assembly, right? I mean, it's a stupid idea. I don't know why the heck they ever built those things. My wife's 2002 Lexus ES300 has two electric fans. They've never broken. They still work perfectly fine. The other day, it was 100 degrees. We went to Nashville. The AC was freezing cold. If I were you, I'd just say, the heck, those things cost a fortune, right? I would just replace it with an electric fan, put a toggle switch on. Be a lot cheaper. Austin Braden says, Scotty, what do you think of Rolls-Royces? Rolls-Royce ages ago got bought by BMW. Now they're kind of rebranded BMWs for years. They've had BMW V12 engines. It's a rich snob mobile car. You know, people, I drove a Rolls. Yeah, you know, it used to be so hilarious back in the day, back in my grandfather's day. Rolls-Royce hoods had a special key, and only certified Rolls-Royce mechanics had that key to open. They didn't even work on the stupid things. So that'll tell you what kind of car they are. But their quality's kind of garbage. I remember a guy years ago, it was in the 70s. He won a Rolls-Royce in one of these raffles, right? And then he took it to a car wash. When we got out of the car wash, the entire exhaust system was falling down and the car wash broke off the car. So in name only, kind of like the British Empire. I say we used to have an empire, but now we just have a mess. Ryan Six says, Scotty, is the Ford 3.5 EcoBoost V6 a reliable engine? 900 to 2018 with 42,000 miles. Will it last? Change the oil? It should. Now, it's a V6, it's got twin turbos, right? It will wear the engine out faster, so you want to stop that. Change the oil and filter every 5,000 miles and use the new GF6 oil. It's not a type of oil, it's a generic thing. A lot of companies make them. Just make sure it is a GF6 oil. They got little labels on them that'll explain it. And take care of it, because they got some squirrely stuff on them, but it's low miles. And I've seen people with 170,000 on those, and they've never touched the engines. They maintained them, and they're still running okay. Eli Russell said, what do you think of me daily driving a 2014 Honda Odyssey with 190,000 miles that is a small hardship from 1 to 2? I think you like to be gambling about stuff, right? Roll those dice, playing with dynamite, whatever you want to call it, right? That means the transmission's starting to go out. They go out on those Odysseys all the time. That's why I tell people not to buy a Honda Odyssey. They had crappy transmissions. They had to replace a lot of them free for their customers. I mean, baby it. You got 190,000 miles. Baby the thing, but eventually it will go out. And when you price what a new tranny costs, you'll definitely get rid of the Honda Odyssey and probably never buy another one. Tim Baldwin says, my check engine light is on. It's going to stay that way. Stupid brand new oxygen sensors and sensing, but it runs fine. All right, two things. One, why do you think you need an oxygen sensor? If you have a code and the code is oxygen sensor related, realize the codes are generic codes. They can have scores. In that case, there's over 12 different things that can make that light come on. And two, let's say it is the oxygen sensor. You have to buy the original equipment and put it on. It's so sensitive to the system and the computer software and the wiring. Let's say you got a car that uses a Nip and Denso one, Japanese, right? Don't buy a Bosch one you can get cheaper at an auto parts store. It probably won't work right. It might not even be the problem. There could be a lot of, a vacuum leak, fuel injection, all kinds of things can make that code trip. But if you didn't use an OEM sensor, start there. But if it runs okay, depends where you live. Like I'm now back in Tennessee, right? Tennessee, they don't inspect cars. So if it runs fine, so what if you check engine lights on? No one gives a rat's behind. People put a piece of black tape over it so they don't have to look at it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.